Best NFL draft fits for Colorado cornerback Preston Hodge. Preston Hodge's path to the NFL isn't wrapped in hype or built on easy circumstances, but that's exactly what could make him appealing to the right teams as the draft approaches. Colorado's 2025 season was difficult by any standard, a year defined by roster turnover, inconsistency, and losses that piled up faster than momentum ever could. Yet within that chaos, Hodge quietly carved out a reputation as one of the few steady presences on the Buffalo's defense, a cornerback who showed up every week and competed regardless of the scoreboard. Playing on the outside for a defense that spent far too much time on the field, Hodge was tested constantly. Quarterbacks didn't shy away from throwing his direction, and that volume became both a challenge and an opportunity. He responded with 41 tackles, an interception, and 13 pass deflections, numbers that reflect both usage and trust. Those pass breakups weren't accidents. They came from length at the line of scrimmage, awareness downfield, and a willingness to contest catches rather than concede space. On a team short on defensive stability, Hodge became someone coaches could rely on to handle his assignment without constant safety help. NFL teams evaluating late-round and undrafted prospects often look for exactly that profile. They're not searching for instant stars on day 3. They're looking for players who understand leverage, compete snap to snap, and can survive in coverage long enough to earn a role on special teams or in sub-packages. Hodge's ball skills, competitiveness, and physical traits give him a realistic chance to do just that. He may never be the flashiest name in the class, but he looks like the kind of corner who can stick around. Minnesota stands out as a particularly logical fit. The Vikings have struggled for years to find long-term consistency in the secondary, and even with Brian Flores stabilizing the defense, depth at cornerback remains thin. With only a couple of corners under contract heading into the offseason, Minnesota will be forced to address the position through both the draft and free agency. That creates an opening for someone like Hodge, whether it's with a late pick or as an undrafted free agent brought in to compete. What makes Minnesota especially intriguing is its recent history. Kevin O'Connell's staff has shown a willingness to give undrafted players real opportunities, and several have turned into contributors rather than camp bodies. For a player like Hodge, that environment matters. He's not someone who benefits from being buried on a loaded depth chart. He needs reps, coaching, and a chance to prove he belongs. In Minnesota, that path exists, particularly on special teams and in rotational defensive roles. Denver presents another natural landing spot, especially if Hodge goes undrafted. Staying close to where he played his college football could ease the transition, but more importantly, the Broncos offer a developmental structure that has quietly found value in overlooked players before. Sean Payton has built a career on maximizing roster edges, and while Denver's secondary isn't desperate for starters, there's always room for competition on the back end of the roster. For Hodge, the practice squad route would not be a setback. It would be an entry point. His skill set translates well to special teams, and his experience playing meaningful snaps against Power 4 competition gives him a foundation to build on. If injuries strike or depth becomes an issue, he could be called upon quickly, and those moments often define careers for late-round and undrafted corners. The reality is that this year's cornerback class is deep, and that works against players like Hodge when draft weekend arrives. But the NFL is filled with defensive backs who weren't early picks and still carved out long careers because they were dependable, coachable, and competitive. Hodge's film suggests he belongs in that conversation. He may not hear his name called early or at all, but his story doesn't hinge on draft position. It hinges on fit and opportunity. In the right system, with the right patience, Preston Hodge has the tools to turn a quiet college career highlight into a professional one built on persistence and steady growth. What strengthens Preston Hodge's case even more is how his game aligns with what NFL teams actually ask of their depth corners. Late round and undrafted defensive backs are rarely drafted to be lockdown starters. They are drafted to survive, to compete, and to earn trust in specific roles. Hodge's film shows a player who already understands that reality. He doesn't rely on gambling for interceptions or freelancing outside of structure. He plays within the call, uses his length to disrupt timing, and competes at the catch point without panicking. That discipline matters at the next level. Coaches want corners who can line up in press or off coverage, understand route concepts, and recover when things don't go perfectly. Hodge showed all of that at Colorado, often while being targeted more than he would have been on a stronger defense. That exposure, while difficult in the moment, becomes valuable on tape. Scouts can see how he responds to stress, how he adjusts after giving up a catch, and whether he maintains technique deep into games when fatigue sets in. Special teams could be the bridge that keeps Hodge on a roster early. His willingness to tackle, reflected in his 41 tackles, gives him a legitimate path there. Many young corners struggle to embrace that part of the job, but for players fighting for roster spots, special teams reps are often the difference between sticking and being released. Hodge's competitiveness suggests he won't shy away from that role, and that alone can buy him time to develop defensively. From a schematic standpoint, teams that value zone awareness and pattern matching could maximize his strengths. He shows good eyes in off coverage and reacts well when plays break in front of him. While he may not possess elite recovery speed, his anticipation and length help compensate, especially in systems that emphasize teamwork and communication in the secondary. That makes him a better fit for defenses that don't ask corners to live on islands every snap. The Vikings and Broncos aren't the only teams that could make sense. Any organization looking to fortify depth without significant investment could see Hodge as a low-risk addition. Franchises rebuilding their secondary rooms or installing new defensive schemes often prioritize coachability and mental processing over raw athletic traits. Hodge's experience in a high-pressure environment under Deion Sanders, where every snap was scrutinized, has likely accelerated his football maturity. The path ahead won't be glamorous. If he's drafted, it will likely be late. If not, the undrafted route will demand patience and resilience. But history is filled with cornerbacks who began their careers that way and carved out meaningful roles through preparation and consistency. Hodge's profile fits that mold. Ultimately, his success will come down to landing with a team willing to invest time rather than expecting instant payoff. In the right room, with veteran mentors and clear expectations, Hodge can develop into a dependable depth piece who fills in without becoming a liability. That's a valuable commodity in the NFL, even if it doesn't come with headlines. For a player coming from a difficult season on a struggling team, Hodge has done what he needed to do, put enough on film to give himself a chance. Now it's about finding the organization that sees value in steadiness, toughness, and growth.